Welcome to Rogues Gallery, where we count down the best of the worst villains according to your votes. This week, we're looking at the fearsome foes of Captain America, and just missing out on the top 10 this week are Baron Blood, Madam Hydra, and Baron Strucker. Let's start the countdown. Number 10, the Taskmaster. A mercenary for hire, the Taskmaster has the uncanny ability to perfectly replicate any action he has seen. So he can move just like Spider-Man, fire a bow just like Hawkeye, or throw a shield just like Captain America. Taskmaster is often seen as the head of his own training academy, passing on his stolen talents for the highest price. Number 9, the Serpent Society. A large collection of snake-themed villains, the Serpent Society grew out of the Serpent Squad as something akin to a labor union, but for supervillains. Recently, they rebranded themselves as Serpent Solutions and sold themselves as supervillain consultants to the world's largest and most shady corporations. Number 8, Arnim Zola. Also known as the Biofanatic, Arnim Zola was a Nazi biochemist during World War II who survived into the present day by digitizing his consciousness and uploading it into a web of connected mechanical bodies. He retreated to the otherworldly Dimension Z to continue his experiments, but was followed by Captain America, who took in Zola's wayward son and raised him as his own. Number 7, Baron Heinrich Zemo. One of the most infamous Nazis to ever exist, Heinrich Zemo was a top scientist who captured Captain America and Bucky and sent them to their deaths on an experimental aircraft. Though Cap managed to free himself, Bucky's arm was caught and he was presumed to be killed in the blast, only to return decades later as the amnesiac Soviet hitman, the Winter Soldier. Number 5, Batroc the Leaper. A master of the French art of savate, Batroc was a former member of the French Foreign Legion whose skill was known around the world. Batroc is a mercenary, but his driving goal in life has since become beating Captain America, and to prove to himself that he deserves to be considered one of the most feared men in the world. Number 4, Crossbones. Trained by the Taskmaster, Crossbones was a mean kid from New York who fell in with the Red Skull and became one of his most trusted and dangerous lieutenants. Even when the Skull is off the table or thought dead, Crossbones helps to continue his plans and prepares for his leader's eventual return. Number 3, Hydra. The history of Hydra goes back to ancient Egypt and is intertwined with the history of S.H.I.E.L.D., but for many centuries Hydra seemed to be lost or abandoned before resurfacing with a vengeance during World War II. Hydra's tendrils reach across the world and see them involved in many alliances and altercations, frequently clashing with Captain America, Nick Fury, and the forces of S.H.I.E.L.D. Many decades later, Nick Fury discovered that Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. were so intertwined that S.H.I.E.L.D. had always been an arm of Hydra. Working with his secret warriors, he was able to root out the infection and overthrow a vast international conspiracy, leaving Hydra's leadership shattered and on the run. The modern incarnation of Hydra has been caught in a power struggle between the Red Skull and Baron Helmut Zemo, but the former's hidden influence over Captain America himself tipped the tides. Although secretly a Hydra agent himself due to time manipulation, Captain America seeks to overthrow the Skull to return the organization to its former glory. Number 2, Baron Helmut Zemo. The son of Captain America's World War II foe, Helmut Zemo was dedicated to revenge against Captain America for his father's final fate, and took on the mantle of Baron Zemo to see the hero suffer. He founded the Masters of Evil alongside other notable Avengers villains and frequently tried to defeat their rivals at every turn. Following the disappearance of the Avengers, Zemo took on the mantle of Citizen V and founded the Thunderbolts, a Masters of Evil team of villains posing as heroes to fill the power vacuum. However, the majority of his team of villains were taken in by the lure of heroism, and the Baron himself flirted with anti-hero status for a short time. When Zemo discovered that Bucky Barnes had been forgiven for his acts as the Winter Soldier and made the new Captain America, he returned to his evil ways out of spite for not being given similar clemency. He dedicated his life to destroying Barnes' reputation as Cap, which resulted in the hero being sentenced to a Russian gulag, while Zemo established a new, larger Masters of Evil in the nation of Bagalia. And number 1, Red Skull. Johann Schmidt was an orphan teen working as a bellhop who was personally recruited into the Nazi party by Adolf Hitler to prove that he could mold him into the perfect idea of a Nazi. Once his training was complete, Schmidt became the Red Skull and the face of Nazi intimidation and terror as the world marched toward World War II. Captain America and the Red Skull fought during the war, and continued into the modern day after the Skull was revived from suspended animation by an AIM cell. This was the first time the Skull would get his hands on a cosmic cube, an obsession that would most often lead to widespread destruction and his own downfall. After being defeated and seemingly killed for good, Arnim Zola revived a clone of the Skull from World War II, with no memories of the world since that time. This new Red Skull harvested the brain of Professor Charles Xavier for its psychic powers, and began a new campaign of terror against Captain America and his Avengers Unity Squad, founding his own team of S-Men to spread his hate. That's it for this week's list. Make sure to keep an eye out on ComicsAlliance.com for your chance to vote in the current polls.